Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty at Haggerty10 on our Twitter handle, as you all know by now. And I'm joined today by Aidan Macdonald at Aidan C. Macdonald. Good morning, Aidan. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Tony. How are you?
I'm all right. Turned out a happy Monday, didn't it? Even though
Indeed.
it was a bit of desperate Saturday, as the manager referred to. But hey, we'll talk about that in the fullness of time. We'll just do our usual housekeeping and direct you to the strap line running along the bottom, guys. And you've got to get involved in this because it finishes this week, Aidan, doesn't it? And you can win 2 tickets for the Celtic v Rangers Scottish Cup semi-final at Hampden Park on Sunday, April the 30th. And what do you need to do to win them, Aidan? You need to subscribe to the website, don't you? It'll cost you £4 for 4 months of unlimited access to everything that we do on the web. And all you do is click a button, and that button is at www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. If you're an existing subscriber, you'll get an email dropping into your inbox. Fill it in, send it back. You could win that fabulous prize. And if you're a new subscriber, you will also get that email, and all you do is fill that in, send it back to us, and you're in the mix for the 2 tickets, Aidan. What a prize that is.
Yeah, no, it's a good opportunity, obviously, for any fans that maybe were unsuccessful in the ticket ballot or for whatever reason weren't able to get one. So as well as obviously a chance to win those tickets, you'll have access to interviews, some conducted by people like Tony, columns from our weekly columnist Kevin McKenna, tactical and scouting pieces courtesy of Stats Bomb and White Scouts. So yeah, White Scouts, or I should say, get yourself involved if you've not already subscribed.
And there's the picture there. £4 for 4 months. Log on www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. And we also say thank you to SENECA. And as everybody knows, the Celtic Way Morning Briefing is now sponsored by SENECA Medical Group. SENECA are the #1 hair transplant company in Europe, and they offer hair restoration treatments. And you can find out more about SENECA via the links in the description of this video. Aidan, a point gained on Saturday. As it turned out, Celtic won, Motherwell won, but the events at Pittodrie yesterday have put Celtic on the brink of the title. One more win from the 5 split games needed, even for 2 in a row. I guess that's the silver lining from Saturday's clouds, wasn't it, Aidan?
Yeah, all worked out in the end. I think everybody was maybe a wee bit frustrated after the game against Motherwell. The chances were there to win it, but they just didn't come. But yeah, after the game at Pittodrie yesterday, as you say, it ended up being a point gained, which overall brought Celtic a point closer to winning the league that will hopefully be conducted the first game of the split. So yeah, no, it worked out all right in the end.
As Charlie Nicholas would say, Aidan, it's quite ironical that Liam Scales would open the scoring with a freak wonder goal. Things you like to see, indeed, Aidan, eh?
Yeah, there's no way he meant it, no matter what he says. But yeah, no, it was something.
No chance. But yes, indeed. Now, Aidan, Celtic's performance and manager used 2 words. He used kind of disappointed and desperation in the performance. I think he, like every Celtic supporter who left the ground on Saturday, they felt that it was a chance blown to go 15 ahead, but it turned out well enough over the weekend. But I still think that there was only one team trying to win the game, Aidan, and Celtic had one job to mark Kevin Van Veen, and he escaped once, and he scored a fantastic equaliser. The downside of Saturday's result, but Celtic, as you say, still created a lot of chances to win, didn't they?
Yeah, there was plenty of key moments. I know the one we'll probably go on to discuss will be O's chance near the end, which was brilliantly set up by Rocco Vata. But yeah, there was plenty of opportunities. I don't think you could walk away from the game and say Celtic didn't have the chances to get the 3 points. It was just one of those days, really. After, I don't know about you, Tony, but after Motherwell had equalised, I felt that they could have played there till midnight and they just wouldn't have scored again. Sometimes it happens, and like I say, in the end, it didn't prove to be too costly.
It happens, Aidan, and I wrote about that in my verdict that it's not that important in the grand scheme of things, is it? It just feels important. That was the point, you know?
Yeah, no, it does. It does. I mean, it's all relative at the time. We obviously didn't know when that game finished at Parkhead that Rangers were then going to lose the next day. So understandably, fans were a wee bit frustrated, but I didn't see the sort of reaction online that I'd seen in previous sort of campaigns when Celtic dropped points, probably because of how solid we've been domestically. Like I say, that's only the third game in the league that Celtic haven't won this season. That's the sort of shows you how consistent they've been. And yeah, I think people were obviously a wee bit annoyed, but overall understanding that sometimes you're just not going to be able to win every single game.
It does happen, Aidan. That's 17 home games, 16 wins, 1 draw. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's, as you say, I just got the feeling like yourself that it was going to be one of those days they could have played for a long time and not scored. And if you have to give Motherwell credit at all, defending's an art as well, Aidan, and they did very well. It was only when Bata came on, as you say, that the crosses into the box were varied. They tried kind of ones with height, and the chance fell for O, but a lot of the crosses into the box on Saturday were low ones, which were dealt with by the first Motherwell man.
Yeah, they were. It reminded me a wee bit of the sort of away game actually to Livingston last season. I know that was a game obviously Celtic lost, but the crossing just seemed like very sort of route one. It wasn't really effective, particularly when you have Kyogo on the park. I mean, how often does he score headers? He scores the odd one here and there, but it's not usually from a big floated in cross. So that was maybe a wee bit disappointing, but then you got the benefit of starting to do that from a bit more height once O came on and once Fata came on. But by then it was maybe just a wee bit too late. And yeah, that chance from O, he scored harder goals in that since he came to Celtic. It was I think that one against Hibs, everybody was thinking about his header. It might have been in a similar vein, so that was disappointing. But these things happen, don't
they? They do, and thankfully the Rangers never took the chance to apply any kind of pressure for the split games, and you're quite confident now, Aidan, that Celtic can reel off one more win, aren't you, in 5 games to clinch a second successive title?
Yeah, I would hope so. In the last 5 games, would be able to win one of those fixtures. They're in a good position. Ideally, hopefully, it will be clinched the first game of the split. The split fixtures will be out potentially today, but at some point this week anyway. So we'll get a wee bit sort of more insight into who's playing, who Celtic's going to be playing. Sorry, and yeah, fans will be able to start making arrangements for when a title party will start. Hopefully.
Any preference, Aidan, as to who you play in that first split game?
Nah, not a preference, Tony. Just want to.
Come on now, tell the truth. Who do you want?
Well, a home game would probably be ideal. I know previously, or the last few times anyway, it's been sort of away matches. The league's been clinched because it's usually been sort of maybe one of the first 2 games of the split, which obviously one of them will be away from home. But yeah, a match at home, I guess, would be good for the fans.
Now, you touched upon O's chance there, Aidan, and I was kind of scouring social media as you do. Some wild takes on Saturday night, I think, given for the result, and lots of criticism of O. Unjust, unfair, uncalled for.
Yeah, I mean, he should be scoring the chance, but I think some people might have went a wee bit overboard. I've seen a few tweets, sort of almost wanting rid of him really after that chance, which I think was a wee bit harsh, to be honest. He should have been doing better, and it's the exact height for him. He's not been pressured too much by a defender. He should finish it. I'm not disagreeing with that, but yeah, I think a few commenters are saying there the criticism was over the top, and I would agree with that.
Yeah, Michael Ross coming in and saying ridiculous over the top criticism of Mo. Plunge McNugget coming in and saying a home game against St Mirren would be great to win the league. Michael Duffin straight in. Rangers. There you go. St Mirren at home, says Loopy 33. So all sorts of opinion here, Aidan, is who they want. But now, the performance wasn't great, as we've touched on. Were you disappointed in certain players, Aidan? Do you think they kind of failed to hit the heights and standards that you're used to? Just drop below that bar? Because personally, I thought McGregor was good on Saturday. I thought Iwata was decent, and I thought O'Reilly was decent. I think O'Reilly was actually surprised to get the hook, wasn't he? I was surprised at that as well, but not questioning the manager. He knows best.
No, yeah, I mean, I thought Iwata and McGregor, like you mentioned there, they were probably the 2 standouts in the middle of the park. They were sort of dictating play at times, and it looked like if Kyogo was going to get played in behind, it was probably going to be one of them that would provide that pass. I thought O'Reilly was okay. I thought he was a wee bit quiet. I thought both wingers did struggle. I know Haksabanovic and sort of Maida almost combined for that one in the first half. That Haksabanovic put a really good ball in. That was probably the highlight of his day, to be honest. He was quite quiet and he did struggle at times. Same with Maida as well. They just didn't really get the opportunity to get running at Motherwell. Maybe that was down to Motherwell defending quite well. We talked about on Friday how they've been set up really well under Stuart Kettlewell. You know, I think that's 8 or 9 games now. He's won 5, 2 draws, 2 defeats, I think. So he's obviously turned them right round from a team that was struggling, potentially getting relegated, to a side that was frustrated probably to actually miss out in the top 6 in the end. So it's definitely a stronger, more well-equipped, or more well set up, I should say, team that Celtic were facing than probably the last time. But yeah, a lot of the tackles didn't really get going, to be honest, Tony. The only one that probably did okay was Vata and his relatively short cameo on the pitch. He probably created the most and looked the most dangerous, so that probably kind of sums up the game, to be honest.
Brown Warrior coming in, Martin. Brown Warrior, how you doing? First priority is don't lose the game. We never looked like losing the game. Motherwell came to defend for a point and ultimately got the point. So it was anti-football, but their game plan worked. Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with that, Aidan. You've got to find a way to break them down. It's just one of those days Celtic struggled to break them down and didn't break them down. And I have to hat tip to Kevin Van Veen, who I thought played well and scored a wonderful equaliser. If I'm nitpicking, I would have thought Greg Taylor should have faced him up and not turned his back on him, because that split second gave Van Veen time to just shuffle the ball with his right foot and smash it into the net. So, but again, that's nitpicking, isn't it? But he was 1-1, and Van Veen's a confident player, and he showed you why he's one of the best finishers in Scotland, because I think that's over 20 goals he scored now for Motherwell this season, isn't it?
I think that's 24 goals he's got now in all competitions, yeah. So he took his goal really well. I know people were saying maybe Greg Taylor could have faced him up a wee bit better, but I think it is tough when you're playing against somebody with that much confidence, who's also a very technically good footballer. It is difficult, and even once he goes through Taylor, he's still got a wee bit more to do, and it's a really good finish by Hart. Celtic were sort of caught in the counter-attack from their own corner, I think it was, which will frustrate the manager, and he said that in his interview after the game. He was, really quite frustrated with that goal that the team conceded, and I can see why, because it was pretty poor. It was the sort of goals sometimes Celtic were losing when Ange first came in, and it's not really something you've seen since probably the first half of last season, to be honest.
Slack pass from Matt O'Reilly, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was kind of quite slack from O'Reilly. It's not something we're used to seeing, but yeah, it was a poor goal to lose, but these things happen.
Yes, but you've got to say I gave Taylor the benefit of the doubt because Van Veen's a man at the top of his form, and it was an excellent equaliser. So yeah, could have done better in my opinion, but hey, it's water under the bridge, as they say. Anyone else stand out for you, even in terms of performance-wise, or was it just flat all round from some of your usual suspects?
Yeah, I thought apart from obviously we touched on McGregor, Awata, and then Vata when he came on, I thought everybody else was not terrible. It wasn't that sort of dramatic, but I thought the rest of them were pretty flat, to be honest. There was nobody really that was above average or out of the rest of the squad, and the fact that all three forward were struggling a wee bit was probably why they didn't win the game, to be honest. It's quite a basic thing to say, but if your forwards aren't creating chances or your wingers aren't creating chances, and Kyogo was having a wee bit of an off day, then it's unlikely you're probably going to win the game, despite Celtic still having the odd chance to do that. So, yeah, I would say outside of those three, Tony, it was relatively poor from everybody else across the board.
Now, on this podcast, we've been clamouring to see more of Haksabanovic, but he's been given a couple of starts, and he hasn't really convinced in terms of saying to the manager he needs to start more. Maybe he is a better impact player at this time, or this juncture of his career, until such times when he's fully up to speed and he's getting it. Because the last couple of starts he's made, he's not covered himself in glory, has he? I'm not having a go at Haksabanovic. We all believe there's a player in there, but you just want to see more, don't you?
Yeah, in his recent performances, I know before the international break he came off the bench and scored against Hibs with a really smart finish, but outside of that recently has struggled. I don't know if maybe he's getting played off the right, maybe that's not a natural position for him. I know he's played on the left, he's sort of played kind of in the middle almost as a 10 at times as well, so
Yeah,
he has kind of played in a lot of roles for Celtic. Maybe the fact the position he's in right now is one he's struggling with a wee bit. I don't know, but yeah, he's not been making the same impact that the other wingers have. You know, I know my dad had struggled at the weekend as well, but he's also been scoring recently, getting assists. Jota, we know how effective he's been this season. He's been phenomenal. And even Abada, I know he's been in and out of the team, but his numbers are still pretty good. Haksabanovic is somebody who has struggled at times, and I've been a big fan of him. You know, I put him in my team probably most weeks, or probably more than you, Sean, anyway. So I would really like to see him succeed, but I know he has had injuries. Obviously, he was kind of those games before the World Cup break. He was like one of the main players, and then he got injured just the first game back, or just before the first game back. I can't remember because I know he got Player of the Month, and then he wasn't really seen for a wee while. So maybe that's halted his progress a wee bit. I don't know, but yeah, I think there's definitely more to come from. And even if he's not going to have a massive say between now and the end of the season, I think in the next campaign he's going to be involved quite heavily.
Yep, Kaiser comes in and says it was a flat performance, never looked like losing, but never looked like winning either. Went to a back three and put the bull on. I think removing O'Reilly for Moy, and he should have kept O'Reilly on. O'Reilly certainly felt he should have been kept on. Michael Duffin comes in and says, don't think he took a bit of a knock, was right next to Haksabanovic. Challenge was a sore one, and he prefers him on the left. With that in mind, Aidan, do you see Jota and Abada featuring on Sunday then? Not to give too much away of your starting 11, but do you hope that either or both will be fit and available for Sunday?
I hope they're both available. Obviously, whether or not they play will be dependent on their sort of injury situation. Ange had kind of said that Abada was to return to sort of light training, but it made clear before the game on Saturday that everybody who was unavailable, with the exception of Carter Vickers, was also going to miss out against Motherwell. If Jota and Abada are fit and in the squad, that would be a massive boost. Just have to wait to see how this week goes in terms of training. If they're both, you know, fully fit and available, I would expect Jota to start. I don't think Abada will. I think he'll probably persevere with Maida on the left, who has been pretty good recently, with the exception of the weekend, so I wouldn't have any problems with that. But if you had Abada to come off the bench, you know, that would be massive.
Don't know if I agree with Lippy here, but it's an opinion of sorts. Turnbull should have come on instead of Moy. Moy is done. His body is telling him to retire. Aidan, do you subscribe to that?
I think that's a wee bit harsh, don't it? At one point, we were clamouring for Moy to be Player of the Year, so I know maybe since he's came back from the injuries, he has maybe struggled a wee bit, trying to find his way back. But no, I don't think I'd be calling for him to retire, no.
Yeah, Michael Ross, Manny Lippy, Moy is not finished. Totally agree with that. And Markey comes in and says Hacks is thinking too much in the ball instead of just doing, looking forward. So instead of just doing, he's looking forward to see him back to his best. And your comment here, which I was Jason Mudgard saying, all eyes on Lennoxtown to see who's training this week. Everybody looks at those clips, Aidan, and deduces from those who's not there and starts to work out permutations, don't they?
Yeah, that tends to be what usually happens. As we've said before, Tony, I think Celtic are very sort of cute in terms of what they're releasing, probably particularly ahead of this game that's coming up on Sunday. I've mentioned that a few times, but the prime example being Kyogo in the League Cup final last season, even though it was seen in any of the footage or any of the sort of pictures before that, and then he started and he scored 2 goals in the final. So I would imagine it will probably be much of the same ahead of this game, to be honest.
Hatate come back for you? Do you think the manager was just protecting him for the Hampden return?
I hope so. He seems to have been out for, it feels like months now. I know it's just kind of been over a month, but it would be amazing to have Hatate back. He's been one of the best players this season in the team, in a team that's been full of excellent players. He's still been one of the standouts. He was really good in the the League Cup final, against Rangers. I thought he was one of the best players that day. I know Kyogo got the double, but I thought Hatate was phenomenal. And I think Celtic actually missed him in the derby, the recent derby at Celtic Park. And just it wasn't quite as sort of flowing that well in the middle of the park without him. So Yeah, it would be amazing to have him back. But as I was saying with the Carter Vickers thing, who I know did feature at the weekend, if there's a sort of worry about a longer term injury, I know it's a massive game, but I wouldn't be risking him personally if there's that much of a concern. He might be on the bench, I don't know, but then people would probably say if he's on the bench, then he should be fit enough to start. Just need to wait and see.
Would you prefer to see him in the starting lineup? Does that give you some kind of comfort heading into the semi-final where the treble's on the line for Celtic, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously there'd be no disrespect to either Falkirk or Inverness. If Celtic were to win, there would still be another game in front of that. But I think if we are looking at it, there's a high chance that if you win that game against the Rangers in the semi-final, then have a very good chance of winning the Scottish Cup, which, as you say, would be the treble. I just think with Hatate and players like of that ilk who have been suffering injuries recently, I maybe won't put Jota etc. in that because he's a wee bit sort of. It's only been since the Kilmarnock game, but Hatate, even somebody like Abada, if there's longer term worries about their fitness, I know it is a massive game, but I wouldn't want somebody potentially injured for the rest of the season and then going into the next campaign because of something they do in this game. And I just think the fact he wasn't involved at all against Motherwell, he wasn't even on the bench. He's not been in training, as far as we know. I know what you were talking about is Ange might be sort of being cute with the truth at times, but if we're taking it face value that he's not been involved, to then just suddenly throw him in from the start in that game, I think might be a wee bit of a step too far. But just need to see how he gets on if he does come back into training this week.
Correct. I would agree with that, but I just think there's lots of Celtic supporters willing it to happen, aren't they? More than anything else. But as you say, the players' health and well-being and fitness is what's important, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the main thing, obviously, always. And the manager's been pretty sort of direct with that, saying he's not going to risk a player's fitness no matter what sort of game it is. And there maybe has been sort of the odd example where it has happened, and then it's maybe not worked out that well. I was thinking of Greg Taylor sort of before the game at Ibrox. It turned out he had been carrying a wee knock. We weren't really aware of that, and then he started that game. He struggled. He went off, and Juranovic had to come on. Sorry, the less said about that performance, the better. So I understand. Probably Ange maybe learned from that a wee bit now, and I don't think he would throw somebody in who was not. I know maybe no player will be 100% at this stage of the season because they've played a lot of football, but somebody who's really struggling with a knock, I don't think they'd be sort of put in from the start in a game like Sunday, Tony.
Jerry Smith comes in and says Hatate hasn't any game time at all if he is fit, even if he is fit, so I don't think he'll feature on Sunday. And Michael Duffin agrees with you, totally agree, and I believe Abada was training started last week, but don't think Hatate will make it. So commenters agreeing with yourself, Aidan. That's always a good confidence boost with that.
Makes a change, Tony.
Maybe think you know what you're talking about, eh? There you go.
Indeed, yeah. I just think, without sort of labouring on the point too much, that it's at that stage of the season. It's such a big game. You don't want somebody who's going to be a passenger, not because of their ability, just because of a lack of fitness. Such an important role in the middle of the park, and those sort of number 8 roles for Celtic. A lot of pressing potential, a lot of defensive work as well, given the opposition you're up against. Yeah. So you don't really want somebody struggling with a knock in there, in my opinion.
Well, Kimichi Strider comes in. If Rio trains all week, I think he'll start.
That's a different discussion if he has a whole week of training then, but I'm just going off the assumption that he's maybe not going to have that, given he's apparently not being involved at all.
Kaiser's saying we expect to see Hatate in full training from tomorrow if he is to feature. So yeah, lots of opinion on that, Aidan, but and others saying that he can't be risked on Sunday. So we'll see how it goes. But again, that's what the manager gets paid for, isn't it, Aidan? To make those big decisions.
It is indeed, yeah. That's exactly what he gets paid for, Tony. Right. And hopefully...
we'll have to just guess on Friday, won't we?
Indeed. I'm confident he will make the right decision in terms of that. I don't think he's going to be wanting to risk anybody. Celtic have plenty of depth in those positions. We know Hatate is probably one of the best options, or the best option to have in one of the number 8 roles. But, Awata's came in, looked really impressive. O'Reilly seems to be back hitting form. Aaron Moy's back from injury, apart from somebody wanting him to retire. And you've also got David Turnbull there as well as the potential to maybe move McGregor forward and put Awata a wee bit further back. So there's a lot of options there. it will be a blow if Hattati's not involved, but there's still plenty of players there that can get the job done.
Patrick McLaughlin, Hattati was probably fit enough for Saturday and just playing games. And Pete McGee saying no way Hattati should start the semi-final, even if he changed all week, maximum of 30 minutes off the bench if needed. Michael Duffin, Ange curveball. They're all thinking that Ange's at it, Aidan.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. And if he is completely at it, then fair play, because I've sort of bought into it. I just think Hattati's been out for a wee while now. You know, it's not like a recent injury, like Jota, etc. Or to be honest, even Abada, he's been out since international break, hasn't he? So, or since he got injured on international duty with Israel. That's what it was. So I don't know. I just have a feeling Hattati probably isn't going to be involved, Tony. But I'd happily be wrong.
Indeed. Now, Aidan, just touching upon it, was yesterday a surprise for you, or were you surprisingly delighted by that it now puts Celtic one game away from winning the title again under Ange Postecoglou, which is it's a magnificent achievement, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the game yesterday, obviously Aberdeen have been in a phenomenal run of form. I think that's after that game yesterday. It's now first time they've won 7 games in a row since 2015. So, in terms of recent years, despite them having a pretty brutal more than first half of the season, and getting knocked out of the Scottish Cup by Darvel, etc., they do seem to have turned a corner under Barry Robson. So, I expected it to be closer than the other previous matches between Rangers and Aberdeen this season. Did I think Aberdeen would win? I'll be honest, probably not. Just because I think they hadn't beat Rangers for 18 games or something like that. Which at the end of the day, I know Jim Goodwin when he was at Aberdeen.
7 years or something, was it? Something like that, yeah.
What is it, sorry?
7 years, I think it was.
7 years, yeah. So I think it might have been 7 years since they beat them at Pittodrie, but I think it was a wee bit sooner since the last actually overall win against Rangers. But yeah, and obviously Jim Goodwin had brought in, when he was at Aberdeen, had brought in a lot of new players, but there was still some faces there from the sort of previous regime, and a lot of them had went probably not having beat Rangers while they were at Aberdeen. So sometimes I think that can maybe have a psychological impact. But no, Aberdeen deserved to win. I'll maybe touch on Scales' goal, they were the deserved winners, and fair play to them. And it turned, like I say, that point for Celtic turned out to be vital in the end. Yeah,
I mentioned it because the irony is that Celtic didn't put as much pressure on Rangers as they would have wanted, but in the end they still extended their lead with a point, so it's put them within 1-1 of the title. So it wasn't the end of the world, as some people were on social media, Aidan, crying about the Celtic result on Saturday night, and trying to get some kind of perspective on it, that these kind of games happen. You can't win them all. There are times when you're not going to score late goals, you're not going to dredge it out the fire. It does happen.
Yeah, it's one of those ones. You can't win every game, and they could still, all the records that we spoke about, potentially points records, goals records, the amount of games having won in a season, etc. They could all still be broken if Celtic win their last 5 league games. They could still potentially end up with more points than Brendan Rodgers' Invincibles did in the 16-17 season, despite having lost the game, because I believe that was 4 draws. So in that campaign, but yeah, you can't win. You just can't win every game, Tony. It just doesn't happen. Teams much better than Celtic go through campaigns not being able to win every game. Not in Scotland, also, when I'm talking about that, just like relatively across Europe, it just can't really happen. So yeah, I think I can understand some people's frustration, but I have a feeling that after the game yesterday, people aren't that annoyed about it anymore.
They're still chasing the goals record, Aidan, which is the one that Ange Postecoglou touched upon in his pre-match presser. For the Motherwell game, he said there was one record that he would like, it's the goals record, and because obviously that's the one that stood since 1915-16 Willie Maley's team. So would that give you a wee insight into Ange's thinking on it as well?
Yeah, I think it does. I know he said himself sometimes that he's just focusing on, the next game. He doesn't want to think overall about records, but I'm sure in the back of his head, the fact that the team are quite near to being able to achieve it, it's not that long, it's not that far away that they could potentially get over the line in terms of not just the league, potentially the treble, but also beating these records. The fact that they are so close to it, I'd imagine it is something he's maybe not discussed fully with the players, but I imagine having his staff maybe had a wee discussion about it at one point.
Sure.
I think at the stage of the season, particularly if Celtic do clinch the league in the first game of the split, it is good to have those sort of motivating factors between the end of the season from the last 4 league games, and beating those records could definitely keep the players sort of, instead of them going through the motions, they're still going full pelt, which is what the fans will want to see.
Now, Steve Cassidy comes in with a valid point for all the Celtic dads out there, Aidan. Claiming that title as well. People need to get perspective. You should have tried being a Celtic fan in the early 90s, the bad old 90s, Aidan. Not a good time to be a Celtic supporter.
Yeah, I've heard a wee bit about the 90s, Tony, I'll be honest, not before my time. But yeah, I guess. I mean, what I would say is my whole thing about that was it doesn't apply right now, but when there was maybe more criticism getting lobbied at the club a couple of years ago, I felt that you could still have an opinion on things not being the best.
Of course.
Just because things weren't good in the 90s, do you know what I mean? But I understand right now that argument probably does hold a wee bit more weight.
Steve Cassidy, I remember those days, and he's still got the scars, they say, he's heading, there you go. So what happened to time being a great healer, Steve, and all that, you know? Punishment Nugget saying he was a fan in the 70s, so even an older Celtic guy than myself, if there is such a thing, Aidan, out there, that do exist, there you go. So there you have it. Now, Aidan, that's been half an hour dissection of Celtic 1, Motherwell 1, and the lesson we've learned from that. We will preview a small matter of association football coming up this weekend in greater detail, Aidan. Celtic v Rangers going head to head in the Scottish Cup semi-final at Hampden Sunday, April the 30th. And as we've said, get involved in this because you could be there. You could win 2 tickets for said semi-final on Sunday. You've got to get your entry forms in by this Thursday, Aidan, April the 27th. Draw will be made on Friday, April the 28th. And all you have to do is subscribe to the Celtic Way, and it'll cost you £4 for 4 months of unlimited access to everything that's written on the website. Click of a button, guys, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. And on the website today, Joe Miller is reminiscing about the 1988 centenary title win, Aidan. It was 35 years this weekend since Celtic achieved that. So if you want to have a read at that, guys, I'll put the link to that in the comments. And he was talking about there was that many punters on the ground that day that he was tackled by a fan running down the wing at one point. So it's all good knockabout stuff. And another wonderful title success. Celtic won back in 1988, their centenary season, leading cup double that season. So if you want to have a wee read at that, there you go. Put it in the comment section. Enjoy that. Great fun. Joe's on great forum. But guys, fill in that forum. If you're a new subscriber, you'll get an email forum as soon as you subscribe. Fill it in, send it away. You'll be in the mix for the prize. And existing subscribers, you'll get a forum dropping into your email inbox. Don't ignore it. Fill it in, and you too could be at Hampden to see Celtic attempt a shot at history, Aidan, because no clubs ever won 8 domestic trebles, have they?
No, they haven't. As far as we can find out, anyway, they haven't. So yeah, it's a good opportunity, like I was saying, for fans that potentially missed out in the ballot or for whatever reason couldn't get a ticket for it. So yep, get yourself involved if you haven't already subscribed.
There it's there, guys. £4 for 4 months of unlimited access to everything that's written on the web. Closes April the 27th. Get those forms in, and if you haven't received a form, get in touch with myself, Aidan or Sean, and we will endeavour to get that form to you before Thursday. Closes on Thursday, draw on Friday. So good luck, guys, if you're entering the competition. And we also say thank you to SENECA Medical Group. And as everybody knows, the Celtic Way morning briefing is now sponsored by SENECA Medical Group. And SENECA are the #1 hair transplant company in Europe, and they offer innovative hair restoration treatments. And you can find out more about SENECA via the links in the description of this video. All that remains for me to say is thanks, guys. Thanks for your comments in the sections. We appreciate it. We try and read out as many. The countdown is on to Sunday. I'm sure you're all excited. It'll just build as the week goes on, Aidan. You all right? You calm now, yeah?
Calm for now, Tony, yeah.
What is it, 6 more sleeps? Something like that, yeah?
Yes, I believe so.
And old or new money, but there you go. Guys, thanks very much. Aidan, thank you for your contribution today. We'll see you all again at 10 o'clock tomorrow. Take care.
Cheers, guys.